The Quest 3 just unlocked something absolutely wild. A while ago, we checked out Hyperscape on the Quest 3. That is the 3D scanned real-world environments that you can go to on the Quest 3. And then more recently, we were able to scan this filming room I'm sitting in right now into virtual reality using just the Quest 3 and revisit it. Well, the next generation of Hyperscape is rolling out right now, and it takes things to an incredible new level. How does it do that? By allowing you to invite people over to your 3D scan environment. That is right, you can now scan in your home, your room, an outside location like I did, and you can visit it in VR and invite friends over. And it actually uses the Horizon OS platform or Horizon Worlds, so inviting people over is incredibly easy. I was actually able to not just scan my filming room, but my whole studio in and invite Jay Dunn over to show him around the studio. And it was a mind-blowing experience. Inviting someone over to my actual studio and walking them through it and showing them around was unbelievable. But let's just take a moment and appreciate how insane that this truly is. I stepped into Jay Dunn's studio, his office, and he literally was able to show me around to his pop figures, his different headsets, his computer setup. We stood there talking in his room, and even though it was 3D avatars, the Meta Horizon avatars, it was unbelievable to be standing in a real-world location that was Jay Dunn's office, where he was actually physically standing. Now imagine with me for a second, once these codec avatars come out, those are the ultra-realistic avatars Meta has been working on for a while, and you go to a real-world location like this, it's gonna be incredible. Something on a level that no one has experienced, being able to physically be present somewhere with someone. I don't even know how to describe it. You know, the way to do this is incredibly easy and it's free. All you have to do is download the Capture application, and I'll put a link to it in the description. Then it's gonna walk you through the process, and it takes a little while if you really wanna get a high quality scan. In fact, if you want a really high quality scan and you've got a big area you're working on, you gotta go really slow. You can see my scanning here as I scanned my office in. I didn't go slow enough, because if we jump over to the footage of me with Jay Dunn, you'll see some of it's a little muddy. It has a little bit of smear to it. It's not ultra, clear, and the lighting wasn't great. That's another key. You have to have good lighting, because then it gets a good picture. You can see it's really dark in my actual office area where I edit and in my kind of kitchen 3D printing area on the clips on screen. But overall, I was able to actually walk Jay Dunn around my office and say, look, this is what I do here. This is what I do here. This is, my picture of this. And it was unbelievable. It felt like someone was actually visiting my studio, but Jay Dunn was still in his home halfway across the country, which is unfreaking real. Then this morning, I visited Jay Dunn, like I mentioned, and checked out his studio. Now, I visited his studio, a recreation of it in Horizon Worlds before, and seeing it in real life is just insane. I got to see the brand new Samsung XR headset, the Galaxy XR sitting there, and look at all of his awesome pictures and his whole setup. And then we went ahead and went to a new place I scanned, which is my back deck. Yes, you can actually scan outside locations. And while it's got some hiccups and some weird stuff going on that you'll see as you see footage on the screen, partially because it was extremely windy and things moved around a bit, which you want things as static as possible, and partially because I didn't take the time I should have and it was freaking cold outside. But look at the view you can get. This is unbelievable. I was able to show Jay Dunn my backyard, stand by the grill and talk to him. If I was standing in the cold and it was windy, I would have forgotten that we weren't standing outside on my back deck. That's how close it is already to realism. And that's just using the cameras on the Quest 3. Imagine in the next generation or two, when you can capture with even higher quality how it's going to look, and it's really gonna be mind-blowing. One thing I am gonna note is that when I did this before in the original Horizon Capture application and uploaded it to the Meta servers, the quality that I was able to explore in that video did seem to be higher. And I think that is because with the original Hyperscape app, you had to connect to the Meta servers and it streamed all that information to you from a server, and you needed really high quality internet. And I think that's why the image was so much better. I think they've changed things now, because now when you jump into a world that you've scanned, it's actually bringing you into Horizon Worlds, and you're able to freely move around with free locomotion instead of just teleporting, and you have avatars for your Horizon avatars in the worlds as well. So I think they've adjusted how things work, and when it scans, it creates a lower resolution or quality version and puts it into Horizon Worlds. I'm not sure how it works in the back end exactly, but that seems to be how it works, because when you go to exit, it actually asks if you want to exit Horizon Worlds when you're exiting the location that you're in. I hope that as things progress and things get better, we'll see a higher quality visual to the rooms. They already look really good. They're just a little bit muddy, not as bright, and they're not quite as detailed. Although in Jadon's room, he took a lot of time on some of the spots in his room, and I took a lot of time on a shelf in my room, and it actually looks quite good. So I think it might come down even more to the time you take to scan it in. Regardless, it's so easy to do, it's unbelievable. Walk around and scan, let it upload, and then it does all the work for you and tells you when it's done in the application on your phone, and then you can jump in and visit these places. This, to me, has a couple of mind-blowing applications. Number one, and not least of which, is being able to visit real-world locations where you can't go anymore, or capturing memories in full 3D you can explore. Imagine you go over to a grandparent's house, they're getting older, and you want to be able to go back and see it the way it was when they were still alive before they pass away. You scan their entire house, or at least a room, and you are able to then, years later, potentially step back into that place. Trust me, I wish I had this at all the houses that I've lived, at my family's houses that have passed now. I would love to step back in time and to see these in real life, which is why I'm going to start capturing everything I can with the hopes to keep it as a backlog. Because then when you move and you want some nostalgia or memory, you step backwards in time. Or when someone passes away and the house gets sold and you can no longer see the place where you went to go as a child, then you can go back and see that. Or maybe you're on vacation or a honeymoon and you want to scan the hotel room or the house you're staying in or whatever it is. There is so much potential to capture memory and relive those nostalgic moments using this. It's unbelievable. And that's in the quality and state that it's at. Imagine where it'll be in a few years, especially based on AI and upscaling and all of that stuff that's coming and getting better and better. But even beyond that, the applications for using currently scanning in a room and then having it be in VR so that you can invite people over and hang out. Hopefully they allow you to actually add seating spots so you can point at a chair and sit there and your avatar actually sits down there so it feels like you're actually sitting. Then if they had a full camera system in like they do in Horizon Worlds, you could potentially scan a world in and be sitting in it as your avatar, or hopefully codec avatar eventually, and doing full videos talking to the camera, and it'll look like you're, or at least somewhat like you're in the real world. I was chatting with Jadon on my back deck, and I said, look, what if we could scan this in, sit down in these chairs in this scan, and play cards on this table? Because when it captures it, it actually captures all the elements of your room. It captures your doors, your windows, your tables, the artwork, just like it would be if you were capturing your space for mixed reality. It does all of that. So you can jump around the actual room and land on your furniture, just like you would in a 3D world that you're playing around in Horizon or whatever you're doing, or whatever VR application you're playing around in. So the fact that you could put 3D objects on it is possible, extremely possible. So if they could just add a chessboard in, or a deck of cards, or checkers, you could potentially place a board game in a real world room and both people could be there seeing each other's avatars, which would be unbelievable. As it stands currently, you can play mixed reality with other people in the same room as you, but they're seeing their own room and you're seeing yours. What if you could create that room and bring a pool table into that room for Miracle Pool, for instance, and you're playing pool in the same room? Yes, you gotta artificially move around and teleport instead of walking around inside your space because it's a digital room that looks real, but still, it'd be pretty amazing. Honestly, I think the potential for this is unbelievable. For being able to explore places, I hope that they allow for people to do scans and share them, in like a public database or a search engine or something like that, that you can go and explore and find things, because I would forever be going to real world places and just looking at things. I love Gaussian splats and exploring real world locations like Meta has done with some of theirs that are high quality scans in the Hyperscape application. And if there was an infinite number that was created by people, that would be stunning and unbelievable. And I would just be always jumping in and checking out real world locations just because it's amazing. Now, picture the fact that you could potentially integrate this with other elements, and you could be sitting in a living room with a fireplace or maybe around a real world campfire location and have a digital fire, a realistic looking digital fire as much as possible, actually lit and then it casting shadows on the environment and light because it's a 3D environment scan, not just a picture of a real world. And it's not just digital fire inside of a real world, it's digital fire inside of a digital recreation of that world. There is so much potential to this. It makes me very excited, if you can't tell. I've had a lot of fun already scanning locations and playing around with them and being able to bring people into my actual locations. Personally, I am in love with Hyperscape already and the capture, and now being able to invite people over, it just takes things to a whole new level. And I'm beyond excited to see where this goes because there is infinite possibilities for this, and I can't wait to see what those are. But what do you think? Do you think it's amazing to be able to invite people over to a real world location that you've scanned in or be invited over somewhere? That for me is the big thing, because like I can invite people over here, but I spend every day here. To me, it's amazing to go to places and have someone show me around their room. It's unbelievable. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Check out the Hyperscape app in the description and subscribe for more videos. And as always, happy questing.